Hey guys, it's SomberShadow001 back at it again with the video games, and I bet you're wondering why I have this on my head. Still not revealing my hair. I want to keep that a surprise, so I found whatever was on hand, and I found this, and that's what I'm going to use to go over my head, so I'm going to look ridiculous. Don't worry about it, because I'm going to cover it up with footage anyway. So basically, what I wanted to talk about is that Bungie came out with a new trailer regarding Destiny 2 Forsaken, and it's all about the exotic weapons and armor reveal. And it's really cool. I'm gonna put footage, over me speaking, and it's gonna be really awesome. So more or less, we're just gonna go over what we have here. We have a bunch of stuff. So I'm actually very excited about this because it's just only about exotics, which I love. And honestly, I don't want to prolong this anymore. Let's just run down the list. So the first one on the list that we have is called the Two-Tailed Fox, which is either a reference to Tails from Sonic or a Naruto reference. Like to think it's a Naruto reference. I like it better. It was actually formerly called the Twin Rabbit, if you remember that in one of my previous videos. It had to do with the big info dump about Forsaken. And it's pretty obvious why they changed the name, because of the Jade Rabbit. It sounded too similar, it sounded too unoriginal, so they wanted to really set it apart from that weapon. So more or less, it's a exotic rocket launcher, which fires two rockets at once, one void and one solar, which I did mention in the previous video. They don't mention that it has the status effects, with the void suppressing enemies, which means they shut down their abilities, and the solar one doing damage over time with the burning effect. They didn't say anything, so we don't know if they remain from the last time we saw it. But I guess we'll find out when we get our hands on the weapon, or if they say anything more about it. So next is an armor piece. They're actually boots, and they're called the Antius Wards, and they're for the Titan. These, of course, are exotic, and more or less, while you slide, you can reflect projectiles. Sounds really cool. But considering that the Syntheseps and the ACDO feedback fence are dominating the Crucible right now in terms of exotic armor for Titans, I don't know how this will work out. It sounds cool. I guess we'll see if it really gets into this like crazy meta for the PvP range. Honestly, it sounds cool, but we'll have to see it more in like practical uses rather than let's just show it off for the sake of showing it off. Next, we have the Trinity Ghoul, which was also mentioned in my video, which is an exotic bow, which is a new weapon that they're adding to the game. And so this no longer splits into three projectiles. They have changed it, which I do appreciate that Bungie's changing stuff. So the arrow does not split into three arrows. But now, if you get a precision kill with it at all, it creates an electrical storm arrow, which when fired chains lightning to all enemies. So that stays the same. When previously it was you had to get a precision hit when the arrow fragmented all three of them in order to proc the chain lightning effect, which wasn't that strong at the time. They decided to make it stronger. It's more like an explosion, more like Risk Runner right now when it's in the Whisper mission, which I really appreciate. I like that they fine-tuned it. I can't speak today. Fine-tuned it and made it more powerful, more easier to use, and generally more fun as a result. I'm honestly glad to see the change. Next is another armor piece, and this is for the hunters. It's chest armor. It's called the Sixth Coyote. If you know the Sixth Coyote, it's a pretty cool lore thing. I know. I believe it's a group of hunters, and two of them we know, both very famous hunters. One of them we've met, the other we haven't, and which I hope we do at some point. One is Anna Bray from the Warmind DLC, and the other is Shinobu, or Himura Shinobu is her full name, who is a legendary blade dancer in D1, or an arc strider, I guess, for D2. She has the gauntlets called the Shinobu's Vow with the skip grenades. They were really powerful D1, kind of suck in D2 because skip grenades are trash. And the reason you can really tell that it's them is because they were marked with a wolf on some part of their armor. So that's how you know, or not a wolf, but I guess a coyote, because that would make more sense. But But yeah, it's very interesting. So I know you're like, get on with it. What does it do? So for the hunters, it gives you 2 dodges that you can proc at any time. Did In the trailer, it shows them going one after the other. I'm not sure if it's exactly like you have to do it once and then do it again, or you lose it. I hope not. I hope it's just like, oh, you can dodge this to dodge. You can just dodge so you don't get shot, and then if he gets closer to you with a shotgun, you can dodge again and then get up behind him and just like stab him or something like that, which I appreciate. I think it's cool because there's some exotic stuff that hunters don't that aren't great for hunters. There's only, or at least in the PvP end. In PvE, however, there's a lot because you got Raiden Flux, you got Orpheus Rig, and you got Celestial Nighthawk. But for Crucible, not really that much. Besides, I mean, Gemini Jester's okay. It doesn't really help. Not Aeon Flux. That's a movie. Aeon, I believe it's not Aeon Safe either. It's one of the Aeons. There's a bunch of Aeons out there, but the ones that supply you dodge energy or supply dodge energy um, to guardians nearby, depending on which character ability you use and if they have the same type of armor or whatever. But it's weird. So, no, yeah, there's not really. My point is, there's nothing really for PvP for hunters, but this could be a really good welcome change. Next, this one's really hard to pronounce. I don't really know if I still have it right, but it's called Malfeasance. I had to look it up what it meant, and it means like unruly, evil, bad. Not like Maleficent, but you know what I would mean. Or like against the law. And it's kind of like the Thorn looking hand cannon that they showed, where everyone thought it was Thorn and people were freaking out, and it was clearly not. I believe they said this one is found by doing the Gambit game mode that comes out. Anyway, let's get on to it. So more or less, it's a exotic hand cannon that it's an explosion after 5 hits. We don't know if it's precision hits or if it's hits in general. It sounds wicked fun, though. I kind of want to use it. It's very like a spiritual successor to Thorn, because it shows in the video like there are projectiles that stick into the body just like Thorn did. Because I don't know if you know, I didn't find this out till way later. Someone mentioned it to me. The Thorn doesn't fire bullets. It fires actual thorns, which I totally didn't know. I thought it was just an aesthetic choice, and that's why they called it the Thorn. So it's very similar, and they showed the explosion. It is massive. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. Next, which is probably one of my personal favorites, it's the exotic sword. It's called the Black Talon, which is such a great name, and it makes sense because it's a curved, ornate sword. It looks like a claw. It totally makes sense. So it's the exotic sword, and it shoots void projectiles. I remember showing this because I didn't know how to explain it. So more or less, it looks like it's a heavy attack, so you could slash normally, and then I believe if you hit R2, which is the heavy attack, it'll create the void projectiles. So what I'm wondering is if it's like World Line Zero in that it is like a one-use, not a one-use thing, but it's like you need a specific time to do it, or can you spam it, or is it like a one-time thing? Because with World Line Zero, it is kind of a one-time thing because you had to sprint. There will be something that showed up on your screen that said temporal sprint, and then you would hit R2 and you do this teleporting vortex attack. I believe it was called Tesseract because Infinity War was coming out around that time. And then you would stop and you would have to sprint again. I'm wondering if with the void projectiles on Black Talon, you could just spam it like a Dawn Blade, because that would be amazing. I would love to see that. So it'll be interesting to see. Next is a weapon that I totally didn't see coming. It's called the 1000 Voices, and it's a new trace rifle. And it's actually solar. Everyone knew there was going to be a new trace rifle. Everyone assumed it was void because that was the only one we didn't have. Because we had an arc one with Cold Heart, and then we had a solar one with Prometheus Lens. Prometheus Lens isn't good, and Cold Heart's meh. This, it seems like they're trying to redeem themselves for Prometheus Lens, because if you see my exotic rankings video, I put it at the second to last one. It was very close to the bottom because it just wasn't powerful anymore. This, more or less, what it does is it fires an exploding beam of fire. So more or less, it sticks to surfaces. It clings to surfaces, and then after a short delay, it will explode. And just a massive fireball. They show it. It looks awesome. I'm not sure. if it spawns on enemies as well. If you just pull the trigger, it hits them, and then the enemy will explode. It seems like it works like a normal trace rifle as well, so it'll be pretty interesting. Next is another armor piece, and this is finally for the Warlocks, and I think it's the worst one I've ever heard. And it's chromatic fire, and more or less, I believe it's a chest piece, and it's more or less, it creates elemental explosions from precision kinetic weapon kills. It sounds way too normal for me. It doesn't sound fun. It doesn't seem like the power fantasy. It just seems like a beefed up version of Firefly, except you can only do it with a kinetic weapon. It feels way too weak. It's not exciting. It's not interesting. It's just, oh, this person can explode in void light or solar light or arc light, and that's it. I don't know. I wish it was a little better. Next, we have another exotic bow. It's called the Wish Ender. And so this allows you to see through walls, which I thought was awesome when you aim down sights. So it's kind of like the true sight thing for the Night Stalker Way of the Wraith. And it pierces targets. So what it means by piercing targets, because I know what you're probably thinking, like, don't arrows pierce targets anyway? Yes, but what it means here is that it overpenetrates targets, meaning you could get a collateral. So you shoot an arrow, there are two people standing in a line, and you get a headshot and kill them. You can literally go through two people and kill them. We don't know if there's a limit. It looks awesome. It sounds cool. And from the trailer, it looks like it's a heavy bow, like a heavy weapon, because it was a one-shot kill. Because what they showed, at least for Crucible, for the people who did, or not Crucible, but for the people who did Gambit with the Trinity Ghoul, it wasn't a one-shot kill, and it was in the energy weapon slot. It was definitely not a one-shot headshot. So, depending on which range or how close you were, it was not. So, this, I'm betting on that it's a heavy weapon, considering that shows that it's a one-shot headshot that goes through two targets. Again, it could be the editing of the video. I'd like to think that's a heavy weapon. Next is a returning exotic, and it's the Ace of Spades, which is awesome. I honestly like it. It's Cade 6's hand cannon. It's pretty cool, and more or less its perk is that when reloading after a kill, it grants extra damage bullets. So kind of like Luck in the Chamber for Hawkmoon, except with Luck in the Chamber, it was like a random bullet will do way more damage than it should. And then to add on to that, there was an extra perk on Hawkmoon that gave you 2 extra, more or less, Luck in the Chamber shots. And that's why it was so broken when it came out, because people found out that you could glitch it and have all 3 shots happen at once. So it would do triple damage, and then they figured out that you can do it one after another and keep going. And that's kind of the reason. This seems interesting. I like the idea that they're kind of bringing Luck in the Chamber back. I hope it's called Luck in the Chamber, because it makes sense. It fits Cade's whole motif. So what they say is like extra damage bullets, because it does do a lot of damage from what they showed. We don't know if that means the rest of the magazine, or if it's a very specific set amount. They don't show how many bullets are in it. I assume it's going to be like the first game, which had, like, I believe it had 11 bullets. If not, it was either 9 or 11. And honestly, it sounds way better than the D1 version, because the D1 version kind of sucked. Where, like, you had Maverick, where it was like if you got a headshot, then it would return a bullet from the magazine, or from the reserves into your magazine, which sounds awesome unless you're getting headshots all the time, which is typically what you're doing with a hand cannon, and then you run out of ammo instantly. I actually did a test on this with my friend when we were on the Dreadnought, and I ran out of ammo in about 3 or 4 minutes without picking up bricks. We didn't pick up any kinetic ammo. I guess back then it was primary ammo bricks. It also caused explosions, like it had Firefly, so it caused elemental explosions. Honestly, this sounds way better. It falls way more in line with what the exotics are right now, considering that their set amount of perks has only got like one big exotic standout perk, and then one kind of thing that helps that exotic perk. So I honestly like that better. If you know what I mean, you'll think of like Vigilance Wing, where its exotic perk is that it shoots, it's a 5-round burst, like that's it. But like it also has a secondary perk called Last Stand. That's like, oh, you instantly get health if you lose a teammate, and your weapon goes better if you're the last living member in the fire team and stuff like that, which is better, and I like that. I want something like that for Ace of Spades. I think it'd be cool. So those are all the ones that were announced. Now we're getting into some speculation right here with this one, because I saw the trailer and I'm surprised that no one's really mentioned it, because everyone's like, oh, it's not really it. I totally think it is, because it looks just like it. But there is a shot in the trailer that shows a shotgun and looked exactly like Invective from D1. Like, it looks just like it. It's got the symbols and everything, like the cool magical etchings. I believe it was Ikora Ray's shotgun, the Warlock Vanguard. People are saying, no, it's not, it's a little different. I'm like, well, it's D2, it's different graphics, they kind of touched up everything. I am so convinced that it's Invective. Like, I will bet money on it. If it's not Invective, I'll bet like $20 on my friend. It has to be, because it looks just like, there's no way they'll build a shotgun that looks just like Invective and not be Invective. Invective was kind of cool back in the day. I liked it. It was a cool idea. I mean, we still don't know if it is, but it has to be, honestly. It's very likely. Now, this isn't speculation. They did show it in the trailer. They didn't really talk about it. It didn't get like its own big highlight, but they had the Cerberus +1, which I mentioned in the previous video with the Forsaken news dump. That's more or less the auto rifle with the 4 barrels attached that all shoot in their own directions. Other than that, though, that's it for this video. That's all the exotics that they announced. I know it's kind of long. It's like 18, 19 minutes. It's going to be crazy, but anyway, just remember to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to hit that bell for notifications. And I just want to say I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It'll be a great time making those exotic stories and stuff like that I'm still working on. I'm writing them down. I'm going to be recording stuff for them. So I already have 3 written out. So I'm going to be starting putting out those soon. So that would be pretty great. So anyway, just going to end the video here. Apagando las luces.
Hey, 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 get in my way and try to block me, I'ma show aggression. Slide on your block like Danny Glover with a lethal weapon. I fucked your thought, she gave me top, I guess that's my confession.